Alright then, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome everybody to Crypto Space. So in today's video we are going to cover Kaspa, its recent price action and a couple of news too. So if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and a quick disclaimer, this video isn't a financial advice. So before investing into any crypto, you must do your own research and due diligence. And now without any further ado, let's hop into Kaspa itself. Kaspa is currently trading at 14 cents of a dollar and it saw 2% pump in the last 24 hours. So that's obviously great. Now let's have a look at market cap. Market cap is currently sitting at $3.3 billion and 24-hour trading volume is currently sitting at 60,242,000 USD. So first of all, guys, this is very beautiful time to be in Kaspa, which I believe we are still early. So let's have a look at the chart for Kaspa itself on a weekly. So the first thing that I would like to point out over here is the fact that Kaspa is perfectly respecting that trend line that leads us back to the last year, January, for example, or if we are going to look even further away, that's going to be October 22nd. So every single time Kaspa is pulling back and almost touching that trend line over here, is pretty much experiencing pumps to the upside. So that is a very good. And now if I'm going to switch into 4-hourly time frame, so if I'm going to switch into 4-hourly time frame, we can clearly see that Kaspa is looking very bullish. Of course, there is some profits taken because, you know, we are of course experiencing people that are trading short-term Kaspa's price on the market, and it looks like on the 4-hourly time frame, Kaspa is pretty much being rejected. However, I do think that Kaspa is going to break all-time highs on the daily, which is pretty much 15.5 cents, I would say. So once we are going to close above the resistance level for Kaspa, I do believe that Kaspa is going to experience around 20 to 30% from now in the short-term future. So why do I think that? If I'm going to switch on the weekly time frame, and if I'm going to look at RSI over here, as we can see over here, we are currently sitting at 69. So if I'm going to take the measuring tool and measure it by percentage back to the oversold area for Kaspa when we saw a major pumps, that's around 29, let's call it 30%. So if I'm going to do exactly the same now with the price over here from now, we could expect Kaspa reaching levels of roughly 18 cents, perhaps a little bit more, who knows, maybe even 20 cents of a dollar in coming days. But obviously that isn't a financial advice, that is just my personal opinion. Now let's have a look at the Kaspa's dashboard. So the next reduction is scheduled in 24 days. The current reward is sitting at 131 Kaspas, and the next one is going to be 123. So this is one thing that I would like to show you guys. First of all, 100k plus Kaspa, Andres is holding 100k plus Kaspa is constantly growing, same as 1 million plus, etc. If we are going to look over here at 10 million plus Kaspa addresses, that chart is constantly growing too. So if I'm going to basically draw a quick conclusion, I could just, based on this, I could just say that many people are believing in the project. That shows its strength in terms of the belief, and it also shows how strong the community of Kaspa is. But now let's have a look at a bit of piece of news for Kaspa. So Kaspa cryptocurrency is now listed on Changelly. So that is very good. Obviously, unfortunately, that isn't Binance or Coinbase, like top tier exchanges. However, that is still good because, you know, there's going to be a liquidity coming in. More and more people are going to have access to Kaspa itself. And of course, we can just imagine what's going to happen after the BTC halving and what is going to happen after the top tier 1 exchanges are going to list Kaspa. So let's have a look at this tweet over here. Important to note that Kaspa is the product of 10 plus years of research on scaling BTC. The work by Jonathan Sompolinsky and Aviv Zohar is cited by current top 10 projects like ADA, XRP, and countless others in the top 50. And now let's listen to what the founder himself has to say about the security of Kaspa.
Let's go wild. Let's go 100+%. So it's not just a matter of paying who and being fair to who. It's it sounds like a more risky system, a more messy system, right? It's chaotic, and it's very intuitive with 100 blocks per second to understand that picking the longest chain, as Bitcoin and as Ethereum do, regardless of what you think others, is inherently insecure, right? So consider an attacker that has a data center and does not suffer from latency. So this attacker can control 10%, 5% of the hash rate, and still possess the longest chain, right? Because it doesn't suffer from latency, while all the honest nodes are distributed and kind of create this messy graph of blocks, right? So can you imagine like 100 blocks per second, a messy graph, a messy data structure of blocks, which technically can be called a DAG. But this is more of a general picture, just picture a mess of blocks, and then one smart attacker just creating a longer chain with no latency and winning it all. So obviously you don't want that to happen. And what you do want is you want a more sophisticated chain selection or block ordering, or more generally, a more sophisticated algorithm to order this graph of blocks. And this protocol cannot be the longest chain. Technically, what you want the property that even if the attacker suffers from zero latency, and the honest network suffers from a very substantial latency, still the attacker cannot manipulate the ordering. So we can get into the technical definitions, but this is more the intuition behind the parallelized consensus or asynchronous or block network.
Okay, so the way I understand his speech is basically it's much more difficult to hack on Kaspa's blockchain, basically, right? So please let me know what do you think about his speech down below in the comments. And now let's move to the charts itself. So this first one over here is for altcoins market cap, which is about to explode. So as we can see over here, right, leading back to 2019 and 2021 bull run, once we broke out of that Wyckoff accumulation over here and we had this retest, after that retest, shortly after the retest, we saw a huge parabola for alts. So we are exactly in the same place over here, which of course doesn't mean that we are going to go only higher. We could see a little bit of retracement, but obviously we can already see that we are in, well, let's say 70% in that little bubble over here. So we are going to see a parabola very soon. And the all-time high, according to this chart at least, is around $3.3 trillion for alts. So that is going to be very beautiful. And that chart suggests a little bit more. As we can see over here, the altcoin market cap recently broke out of the accumulation phase, with prices testing the 700 billion area for the past few weeks. So as we can see over here, the peak over here, we've got around 4 trillion USD. So just imagine how much money of that is going to flow into Kaspa ecosystem. That will be beautiful. So that chart is a little bit too bullish. However, listen up. Similar to previous cycles, the last altcoin cycle peaked at the 3.618 Fibonacci trend, reaching approximately 1.7 trillion USD. So what's next on the Fibonacci trend? As we can see over here, 3.168 Fibonacci trend is basically signaling that we are going to see above 5 trillion USD in terms of market cap for alts. Wow, that would be great. But let's look at the last chart over here for BTC, because obviously that is also an important thing to cover. So BTC breaking out of the cloud, 51,000 US dollars is the next target. Zooming out to monthly BTC is currently breaking out from the Kumo cloud and with conviction. Although the monthly candle has time before closing, there are two bullish events in Ichimoku that can be ignored at this stage. So if BTC is going to see a rise up to 51k, definitely Kaspa is going to have much healthier condition to go and basically see these levels of 20 cents of a dollar in upcoming days or weeks. And now a little bit of comparison between ADA and Kaspa, right? Because many of you are saying that it's pretty much pointless. Why Kaspa would basically see levels of around 90 billion market cap this bull cycle. However, I do think that this is definitely possible. If we are going to look at Cardano saw 93 billion USD in the last cycle, and that was just a promise. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was just a promise of a small contract. They haven't had small contract at that time. So Kaspa if Kaspa is going to see these small contracts in the coming weeks, which obviously would be beautiful, but of course we don't know at the moment, that would be great. However, now that is just a promise, just like with Cardano case in the previous bull cycle. So basically Kaspa is sitting at a little bit over 3 billion USD. So if we are going to compare it to the market cap of ADA, Kaspa could see, let's say, around 90 billion USD as well in terms of market cap when it's going to peak. So that was going to put Kaspa around 30x from now. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. That's it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Peace and love, crypto.